Okay, we are live. So this video is mainly made for the purpose of this one patient of mine. If you're watching this, you know who you are. If you are not this person, but you are interested in getting to know the basics about working with a heavy bag, punching, kicking, warming up regarding this heavy bag, then I also suggest watching this video through and trying things, maybe portions out for yourself. So without further ado, let's just go. Working with the heavy bag, of course, I'm not warm right now, so I will briefly go through how I warm up for working with a heavy bag. Usually it's combined with other work, strength training, etc. In the breaks I will just use the heavy bag to kind of deload my wrists and stuff. But for now, let's focus fully on the heavy bag. I will go through how I warm up very briefly. Then we will go through the punching and the kicking, the basics of this. So the techniques which we will go through are like straight punches, so the jab and the cross, and we will go through the hooks, so going from side to side. Regarding the kicks, we will go through a front kick, we'll go through a round kick and a side kick. Now I'm not warm, so maybe it was best to do the showcasing a bit later, but those are the techniques which we will go through, which are the basics in my opinion. Warming up then. How do we warm up? I feel most important actually, which we kind of neglect as well, especially working with a heavy bag, it's not the shoulders, not the arms necessarily, it's not the hips, it's the wrists. If we punch a bag, all the forces which we generate and which will react in our arm have to go through this tiny structure, the wrist. So if our wrists are not really prepared to take on this impact, we won't be able to fully lock in our whole arm. So of course, working with the wrist, getting our wrist strong and resilient is important. Regarding warming up, I would suggest just, first get it a bit loose. We don't need a heavy bag to do that. But other than that, we can also use this heavy bag to already introduce some loading to our wrists. These positions, which are quite fragile, we can actually kind of massage into these positions, mobilize the joints which are located in this wrist. We can use the heavy bag, use the reactive forces in the heavy bag to load up our wrist, and the more down we go, the more our wrist will bend like this, you see. Same goes for the upside. I can just do this okay, but I can also go higher. I can spread my fingers. If I spread my fingers, I will also engage more the connective tissue, not really necessarily the wrists, but the connective tissue, and you will feel a much bigger stretch going on in your arms. So this way we can play around a bit. Be careful, the wrists are quite delicate, but we can play around. We can search some spots. I can feel right now this spot here on my right wrist is a little bit harder, a little bit less free in its range. I can feel more reaction here, so I can choose to also mobilize here, get this blood going. So after you're done with that, we can also introduce already some impact forces. When we punch, we have an impact with an object which is more or less giving. In this case, a heavy bag is already quite giving. It's not a wall that is just concrete and just standing there and just not bending at all. This heavy bag will bend already a little bit, so we can work with it. We can slap, awaken our wrists. I would suggest just experimenting with this. Just have some fun. Also use the forearms. Really just waking up the arms. So after you've done this for some time, the warming up is done regarding the upper body. And if we want to warm up, is it raining? How? Hey, it's raining, but there's no clouds above me, so hello. It stopped raining. Regarding warming up the lower body, I would just suggest to, stretch a bit dynamically, go into these ranges of motion, get it flowing a bit. It's a little bit less related to the heavy bag per se, since we won't be really using the heavy bag for like a feedback mechanism, which we could do with the wrist, like the reactive forces from the heavy bag, playing with it. Regarding the lower legs, just find some mobility there and go with it. Okay, let's introduce the punches. Straight punch. You can actually check out my other video I made. I will show it here, I think, there. And this already quite a good introduction to the straight punches. If we want to throw a straight punch, we have a fighting stance, so one leg is in front of the other leg, and what we will do is throw a punch like that. That's really the basics of it. And how can we work with these straight punches? I would suggest just watching that other video. I already talk a lot about it there, but main point is we want to engage with our hips. So when we throw a straight punch, we are throwing it from our cheeks towards the heavy bag, and we really want to make sure it gets back for positioning. Later, if you want to be creative, of course we can just play around and the heavy bag won't hit us back, but for sparring purposes and reality purposes, we want to always defense well. Throwing a straight punch is like sending out energy. I'm sending energy away from my body, so I'm really sending it away into this heavy bag. And really there's not really much more to it. I would suggest just doing it lightly, really trying to see if it feels all right, if you can actually get the energy, the compression, the reactive compression going straight through your arm, so you don't feel there's like a bodge or a crooked place when you throw the punch. So straight, and we keep it straight. It really needs to be a solid block. That's why it's so important to have resilient wrists. That is for the straight punches. And how we can actually add on to this and be more engaged with this punch is not seeing it as something that is coming from the arms, but that is coming from our hips. When we engage with this punch, we use our hips. This is our main engine, the spinal engine, which we really originate from our hips, lower back. And when we create this energy here, we will send it towards the back. So we create this energy, and our elastic and connective tissue will propel our arm towards the back. So instead of just this, which is originated from the shoulder, we can get this, which originates from our hips. It's really different. And regarding a hook, it's less of a sending energy outwards. It's almost like we're sending energy inwards. almost like it's circular, like it's going back to us. When we do a hook, we will reach less. When we do a straight, we will really try to reach the back. When we do a hook, we also need to stand a little bit closer, because a hook is with a bended joint. So this is a circular motion instead of a straightening motion. So when we do a hook, of course we have one leg in front of the other. For me it's left, for you, I don't know if you already know which type of style you have, but for me left leg in front is the most easiest. I think it's called regular, I don't know, doesn't really matter. When we do a hook, we want to create a circular motion, so we are circulating the energy into the back, so it's coming from a side angle instead of a straight angle. Like I said, we are circulating the energy. It's almost as if we are going back to us. You see, when we throw a hook, the energy is going back to us instead of with a straight. It's there, it's lost. So with this comes a little slight different approach into throwing the sponge. We are hooking, we are engaging also with this, again, the hips, so important. We generate with our hips, engaging the glutes, the hamstrings, really locking this capsule, and then the connective tissue will travel and we will hook with it. So if it's only from the shoulder, we throw the energy inwards and we create a punch like this. If it's only from the shoulder like this, when we use our hips as well, it will look something like this. Again, it's really different. Really different. You're engaging much more energy into this punch. Okay, that was the punches. Like I said, this is an introduction. I'm not going into specifics, otherwise this video will be way too long. So let's go to the kicks. A front kick. It's kind of similar actually with the punches. So the front and the round kick, front kick, round kick, they are actually very similar regarding how in essence the energy flows to the straight and the hook. So with a front kick, we want to send energy again. We want to send it outwards. When we did the jab, we're sending energy outwards and it's going away from our body. It's not coming back in that sense. The same goes for the front kick. When we throw a front kick, we are sending this energy outwards. We are sending it to the heavy back and it's not coming back to us. It is going away from us. So how do we throw this front kick? Because in essence it might be maybe actually fully the same as a straight punch, but regarding how it looks like and how it expresses itself through a different structure, which is not the shoulders and the arms, but our legs, hips, knees, etc., it is a bit different. So how we do this is we pull our leg up, and with this pulling we straighten it. So we pull it until we reach the point where we want to straighten the leg. So when we straighten, we extend the knee, and regarding how you want to do it, if you want to snap it, you fully like do it like that. But with a heavy back, I really like to do it in a pushing motion. So we straighten it and we fully, like here we are compressed, and then we extend. So you can see I'm compressing myself and extending myself. Actually, the same goes with a punch too. We are compressing, you see, compression and extending. It's really interesting how these things are so similar. So like I said, we pull our knee towards us and then we shoot it outwards. So when we do a front kick with our front leg, it will look like this. And when we do it with our back leg, we can create more energy because we have more distance, therefore more time to create momentum. But it also takes more time. So our opponent, in this case the heavy bag, doesn't have ice. If it had ice, it could see it also a lot earlier. So when we do this straight with our hind leg, we can create more momentum, but it's also more foreseeable. That is the straight regarding a kick. So a front kick, a straight kick. We keep our body in line and we push towards the bag. Regarding a round kick, in essence, the energy flow is similar as a hook. We create this energy and it's kind of going back to us. It's not really out there, it's not lost, it's circulating back to us. But in its pathway, there stands an object, a bag, which will receive the force. But this force is a circular force. So like a hook, where we circulate the energy going into the bag, we will circulate it with our legs. So with this one, I will first show, or no, I can just switch stances. I will show it from our front leg, which in this case will be my right leg. When I do this, I first pull my knee up. So it is, again, this compression, and then I will rotate. So the difference is, with a straight, I will keep my body straight as well. And with a round kick, I will rotate in my hips mainly. And this rotation will direct the energy a bit different. So the energy won't be straight, but it will redirect this energy going into, like going back to me in a circular motion. So when I do this, I compress, and I, instead of going out, I rotate. You see how my body redirects the energy? So in essence, it's kind of similar, but then in directing the energy, it takes a different pathway. And this rotates the energy, circulates it back towards itself, kind of. So when we do it a little bit faster, instead of like that, we will rotate our body. So with a front kick, it's like that. If it's with the hind leg, again, same principle, more time, more pathway, more momentum, but also more foreseeable to the opponent. So it will look like this. We will circulate it into the heavy bag. So have a play with these two. Then regarding, it's not necessarily a basic kick, because it's one of the most difficult kicks that are out there, but the side kick is, for me, it's one of the most interesting kicks, because it really has all the components in itself. It's kind of in between the straightening and the circulating energy, because what we do with a side kick is we are already standing with our sides towards it. It's less like a kickboxing, rigid, front to front. This is more therefore also a lot more seen in Taekwondo, for example. We stand sidewards, or if you're standing like this, you have to already turn in sidewards. So our basic positioning, our first positioning is a sidewards positioning. Again, we pull up the knee, we are compressing ourselves, but instead of with necessarily using our knee to generate the kicks, we use our ass. Very flat. Well, mine's not that flat actually, it's kind of big, but we use our ass, and it's kind of a stomping motion. It's like there's some nasty bug on the floor, you want to stamp on it. You don't stamp on it like this, right? Standing your knee, you stamp on it. You want to really stamp on it with your ass. You want to really engage that ass. It's a lot of ass. But It is true. And since it's such a big muscle as well, one of the strongest muscles in our body, it has a lot of force behind it. That's why the side kick is actually also very dangerous, because it can, if done right, create a lot of force. With the side kick, we are standing facing with our side of our body. We compress again, which is very similar, and then instead of really using our knee, we use our ass. So in this case, our ass is the main direction. So we use it. We are standing like this. Of course, this creates a lot of instability. It's not easy. It's definitely not an easy kick. So we are in this position, pulling the knee up, and with this one especially, we want to really already straighten the leg in this way so that it can be fully stacked on each other, the direction. So we engage our ass and we use our ass to guide it towards where we want it to go. So in this case, we're almost standing with our backs towards the opponent. So when we do this, I do this with my front leg. We are pulling it up, compressing, and then we are extending. And if we want to do it really right, we already lift our foot as well. You can see even me, the stability is very difficult. It's not easy to just stay in this position. And with this, we can extend it. Wow, this is really bad. Extend it, our foot. We are also extending our knee, but at the same time, we are using our glutes. You see how I'm using my glutes here? Bang, like that. So in practice, it will look like this. And we really try to use our heel to target and try to really go through the heavy bag. So this is a very interesting kick. We are pulling it up and using this stomping motion. So I would suggest, because the side kick is not easy, to maybe also practice without the heavy bag. You can use it as support, let it go up. This will be already quite difficult. We pull up our knee, pull up our foot as much as possible. You see the internal rotation that needs to happen. So you need to be free in this internal rotation. And you see the side bending in my spine to stay balanced. And with this, we extend the glutes, the knees to the side like that. Not easy at all, but very rewarding, because it engages so much freedom of motion. And we have to, if we want to do this kick well, we have to really practice this range of motion in our legs in a very dynamic way, not static at all, which I'm very fond of. So yeah, that's it. The basics. On the heavy bag, we have the straight punches, we have the hooks, we have the straight kicks, round kicks, and the side kicks. So morph well, be well. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned from it, and I'll see you in the next one.